Hey, good Tuesday morning, my friends. Hopefully you had a good and safe holiday weekend. And I'm meteorologist Mark Torregrossa here on the MLive Morning Weather Update. We're going to get into it and talk about a couple of things. Hey, how quickly the weather changes, right? We have a summery pattern, a flat-out summery pattern for this week. In fact, a few spots today will touch 90 degrees. So we'll have our first 90-degree reading. And to check the calendar, it's May 26th, so that's well ahead of the game. Some fears from that chilly spell in, we'll call it April, and the first week of May or so, that it would continue in, and I don't see those fears. We also will have a cool down later on in the week, and in between there, a Gulf of Mexico feed of moisture will head this way, and it will bring us possibly likely a batch of heavy rain. It's just uncertain exactly where it is. Hey, before we get started, let's say hi to some folks. Dana, thank you. Good morning, Cherry Hill. Good morning, Curtis Jack from Flint, Michigan. And Wanda Miller, still in Naples, Florida. Hey, you can return. Michigan has some great weather now. Thank you, Bonnie Clark. Milam, where did I get the shirt? I'm like most other guys. My wife does all my shopping. She found it in Florida when we were there on a vacation. Uh-oh, Monica Gonzalez, we are not talking. She is already ready for fall. Let's get into it. And as we do, I want to remind you that the MLive Morning Weather Update is brought to you by Abley Greenhouse and Garden Center in Saginaw, just off I-75 at M81. That's just before you get to the Z Bridge heading northward. It's a week this week where you want to plant everything you can, and Abley has all the plants you need. All right, here we go. And the best weather this week for gardening is going to come up over the next 3 days before we get into the showers and thunderstorms. So here's the current radar. There is nothing on it. And here is the current satellite picture. And it looks nice and summery as well. You get these spotty clouds that build. That's a sign of warm air aloft and instability aloft. And that means it's summery. Okay, so here's our radar forecast for today. And when we start to talk heat and humidity, you start to think scattered afternoon thunderstorms. It's a possibility today, but not a real strong likelihood. Here's our high-resolution rapid refresh model, and it wants to indicate that as we get to 5, 6, 7 o'clock, there could be some what I would call isolated thunder showers building. If you're doing some driving, say for 50 or 100 miles, yeah, you'll probably run into one of those. But if you're in any stationary location, if you get underneath that thunderstorm, it lasts a very short time period, and then it's done. Kimberly Hawkshaw, yes, I know, no more rain. I wish we could order it like that, but unfortunately, when we get into wet patterns, we tend to sometimes continue into the wet patterns. All right, let's look at the temperatures. Wow. Holy red. We're looking at 87 to 90 degrees pretty much all across the state, and maybe a little cooling right near Great Lakes shorelines. Tomorrow, we're still into the 80s. We're fully into the warm sector of the storm system tomorrow, and not much in the way of cloudiness. And then Thursday, I'll show you, we start to get into the showers and thunderstorms, so that cools the temperature a touch, but a very muggy temperature in the upper 70s, low 80s. And then as we go to Friday, the cold front comes through, and it'll be a pretty significant cold front, so that by Saturday, we've cooled down to highs in the 60s to near 70 degrees. And Sunday, we come up a few degrees. And Monday, we come up a few degrees. And by the way, by next Tuesday and Wednesday, it looks like we could be flirting with 90 degrees again. Let's see. Curtis Jackson want to know how much more rain in Midland to get them back into the flooding again. Not sure on the exact number. We're definitely going to keep an eye on that for later on in the week and start looking at the numbers. Here is the radar forecast and give you a sense for what's going on through the week. Okay, so we're into this afternoon, and we're into the warm sector of a storm system that's forming off to the west. And there you can see the scattered thunderstorms that this model tries to develop. Now, this is not a high resolution model. The strength of this model is what it says 3, 4, 5, 6 days down the road, not what it does this afternoon. I already showed you the stronger model for what it does this afternoon. And of course, it's a pretty commonsensical thing, a scattered, isolated thunderstorm possible this afternoon. Now we're into Wednesday, and the frontal system is drawing closer to Michigan, but still not wholeheartedly. West side of the state has a little bit better of a chance of thunderstorms Wednesday. And then Thursday, the cold front from the north, the Gulf of Mexico moisture from the south starts to come in. So I would say by Thursday afternoon and evening, we're starting to get wet, likely wet at any one spot, and that continues into Thursday night, Friday morning, and then by Friday evening, the cold front is sweeping through. So we have 2 days where we will be in the tropical moisture side of a stretch of rain, and that is something we definitely have to keep an eye on. And then by Friday night, Saturday morning, the cold front has moved through. We're drying out and really cooling off. We could have some upper 30s to low 40s maybe in the interior sections of, say, the northern half of Michigan by the time we get to Saturday. All right, total rainfall through this whole mess. And again, right now here, I wouldn't take the placement as exact, but I would take the scenario. Gulf of Mexico moisture feeding up from the south-southwest in an arc across probably lower Michigan. Right now, this European model has the heaviest in the northern half of the state. That's 1 to 2 inches. That doesn't include thunderstorms. So 1 to 2 widespread, 3 or 4 in some spots. Now, through the weekend, this same model had that shifted to the state. So not sure exactly where it's going to land just yet. I would lean toward the north because A, that's the trend we've been in, and B, the warmth seems to be quite strong, and that would hold the front off a little bit. Hey, good morning, Al Blink. Good morning, Vince Hardy from Stanwood East Side. Greg Gibbs, any risk of high winds and waves on northern Lake Michigan near Charlevoix? We will have a southwesterly wind, not too strong, 10 to 15 miles an hour, but then by Saturday, the north wind kicks in, and when the north wind is colder and the lakes are starting to warm up, that gives you a bigger wave than what normally would happen, so we'll watch that as we head on into the weekend. All right, so there you have it. Without having to deal with snowstorms, the morning weather live update gets a little bit easier. We've got warm temperatures to, I guess for late May, we'd call it hot at 90 degrees. Humidity will be growing through the week as we get into the southerly flow from the Gulf of Mexico. That finally latches onto a significant cold front. And that 1-2 punch is generally a significant rainmaker. It'll just depend on the speed of the movement of that front. If that front zooms through lower Michigan 24 hours, we're okay. We're an inch, 2 inches. If it takes 2 days to pass through, then some spots will get into the 3 and 4 inch rains. So yes, we're all worried about our friends that have been in the flooding. That's just a terrible situation. I always say that flooding is the worst. Water always wins. Drought is bad, but flooding is just, it's bad. It's really bad. So our thoughts and prayers go out to everybody that's had damage there. That's your MLive morning weather update brought to you by Abley Greenhouse and Garden Center in Saginaw, just off I-75. Come check them out. You will not be sad if you go there because they got some great stuff. Take care. I'm MLive Chief Meteorologist Mark Torregrossa.